How you doing today, man?
I'm good. You?
Doing very, very well. We had some great people on here. You made the shirt again.
I just brought it on.
Yeah, because we're going to be talking about that at, what, 2 p.m.? We've got Chris Perry, who's going to be coming on Skype live with us. He's always an interesting person, always an interesting face, going up and down, up and down. That's going to be at 2 o'clock. We've got Patrick Moher, good buddy of mine.
Very good.
Ethical Image is his company. He is not a publicly traded company, but what he's doing in this space, all these photos, all the videos, it's amazing when I meet people from different cannabis companies and they somehow, oh yeah, I remember Pat. I remember.
Yeah.
He's in all the conventions, so we're going to see some of his handiwork, some really cool videos from 2 different companies as well, so that's going to be coming up shortly.
Nice.
And we have John Newell as well, portfolio manager and technical analyst at Fieldhouse Capital Management. He came on the show to talk to us about different places he's talking about, but also Triumph Gold as well, and why he thinks that's a certain pick of his choice.
Well, they just hit 74 cents.
Did they?
Yeah, last trade was 72.
There
What'd you do on the weekend, the long weekend?
I actually almost didn't work. It was amazing.
Really?
I think since we started this and I came on, I think in December, I have not had an actual full weekend. Like I'd be out at friends' places or out at a bar and be texting yourself and like our other partners talking. Like it's never a break. This was the first weekend. I think we actually took like 2 days to just be normal people.
Well, there's so many things to do, and like I feel like we kind of have to be working when other people aren't.
Yeah.
But this past weekend, I definitely took a little bit of a break. I was chasing the noise. I went to the car races on Saturday night. Took the kids there, and then Sunday we went to the air show, and then we went to the CD, and then we went up to Port Perry. Went to a demolition derby.
Nice.
So literally, we just chasing the noise all weekend.
Yeah, and it's nice. And then, you know, come Sunday and Monday, I started like getting that itch. Like, what's going on? What are we going to do? And we went right back into it. But it's been a crazy week so far. I know we were talking. I remember our very first show. We were talking with James. Not even our show. We were just on with James.
Yeah.
And we were talking about cannabis. And you know, is that rush coming? And you know, I said, you know, all you need is one big thing. Whatever happens, sure enough, 2 or 3 days later, Canopy announces that deal with Constellations. Boom, we're off to the races. And even yourself, you know, you were talking about the majors you're going to run, and then start going into the juniors and whatever have it. The last 4 or 5 days, it has been euphoria all over again.
You know what, man? Yeah, I'm just looking at
crazy.
Absolutely.
I've been so disconnected today.
The last trade is 69.73 on Canopy.
Yeah,
it's pretty remarkable.
It's been absolutely crazy. If we can pull up my screen actually, because we've got the live L2 here. I've got TIG up actually. Let's get to Weed, what they're doing right now. It's been absolutely insane where you'll see live up here, and it's just flowing. 13 million volume on a stock trading at around 70 bucks. That's a lot of money changing hands. That's a lot of money. And it's been crazy. It got up to what, 75 early in the morning. Everything came out of the gates going crazy, and then the dump. I mean, the profit taking. You could tell that was on a grand scale. All of them almost the exact same time. I think at one point it was down at 60. Where's the low? 64 or 64.20 was the low. That's a
$10 swing.
Pretty big swing there. That, you know, I know some of the traders in our group who love the momentum and volume. They're loving this.
Yeah.
This is where they make their bread and butter.
Yeah.
But for investors like myself, it's you just got to hold on sometimes. I'm not in Canopy myself.
Look at that thing rip.
It's amazing how much is changing hands. We've got, what else have we got here as well? Because cannabis has been crazy. We were talking about mining a lot the last few weeks, and we will be this week as well. But cannabis has been absolutely flying. What's Afria doing today?
What's it up?
Afria, they've been going too, up 3%. They didn't come down as much actually. There's some rumors always circling around Afria.
What's Chronos at?
Come on. This one. So I want to actually talk about this.
Yeah, that's well, there. Yeah.
I said in one of the pieces that we had today, James had someone on here. Again, I wish I had asked James when I saw him what his name was. They were talking about this, you know, the Citron short of Chronos.
Yeah, the report.
And you know, they're notorious for what they do. They were Shopify, they were Aurora. I'm sure they got plenty of others. But there was something in there where they were talking about the provincial supply deals, and that was one of the angles they supposedly took, because they didn't have the numbers for that.
Yeah.
But if you recall, Ontario, I think Alberta, and BC, someone else specifically told these companies not to release them.
Yeah, that was a red flag in the report, right? For speculators that have been following the sector for a while would have known that right away.
Absolutely. And so when you see, and they got destroyed, that was like 30% that one day. The day before it was up like 15%, then down 30. I mean, talk about a swing. But
the traders love this stock.
Yeah, because it's going crazy right now.
Yeah.
Their CEO came out, though, I'm blanking on his name, forgive me.
Mike,
thank you. Came out and basically stated, like, look, this is what the provincial governments have told us, and they told us not to. Anyway, it's bounced right back up. It's up 15.09% at this current time. This is live. And you know what? It's a great company.
I believe Mike is going to be on Midas Letter Thursday.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I'm sure they're going to be talking about this regardless.
You'll want to tune into that.
That's good. Obviously, we've got American as well. We were looking at them to see if they could stay above $2. Is that correct? I actually didn't know that. No, it hasn't changed yet.
American last trade 213.
Yeah, okay, I was gonna say it wasn't changing on me, but no, it's just been crazy, man. It's been crazy. Yeah, do we want to first talk about it? Just leave it till 2 o'clock.
We have Chris Perry coming on today.
Yeah, we'll leave it till 2 o'clock. If that means that you need to stay around and watch us at 2 o'clock to start talking about this.
Should.
But it's nice though. You know, a lot of people hate the fact that a lot of these stocks pulled back today, and I think it's healthy. I think it's healthy because it's been an ominous feeling watching Canopy and watching these other players, Kron even, watching them rip as fast and as hard as we still have, a month and a half until legalization. Don't you fear that it could pop early if we don't make it to October 17th?
I mean, Canopy is sitting at $70 right now. Like,
that's crazy.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
John from Bull Market Run, they actually called this early in the year when the space was consolidating hard. I'm pretty sure they said they see Canopy going to $70, $80 a share, right? Which it has. Look, our first show, I'm pretty sure I was saying that, I thought there would be a mining market and then go into cannabis, right? Which I was wrong.
Yeah.
You're seeing, I mean, it's, September hits and the volume in the cannabis space is pretty intense, right? I mean, so, yeah.
And that's why we're speculators. We're trying to put pieces together. If you find anybody out there who tells you they can do it and they know exactly what's going to happen in cannabis or in mining, they're absolutely lying to you. You cannot.
Yeah.
People ask me about stocks, and they'll be like, "Hey, what do you think about this stock?" And I'll tell them that day. That's the thing. They'll buy it like 3 weeks later. I'm like, "Hey, man, I bought that stock and then it went down." I'm like, you asked me 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, you got to be
a day.
But you know what though? You can't take responsibility for that.
No,
I mean, I just
absolutely not.
People know how I am. I just feel comfortable talking about what I own.
Yeah.
And if people are going to go and buy off that, then that's on them.
Yep.
And there's a learning curve to that too, right?
Yeah. So. And we've always stressed since day one, we're going to talk about this, our chat rooms, our Facebook groups, people are going to be talking about this. Never, ever, ever go on something that I said, that you said. Use it as a part, one tool in a tool shed of different things that you're able to use to make decisions. Because I might say something, and then somebody, a moneymaker, or someone in the bank, whatever it be, they might say something completely different.
Well, we already know they don't know what they're talking about.
I know, that's funny. And you must look at this. I cannot believe this guy.
That was a nice segue there, Brandon.
But always look at these things. We're investors and we're speculators. We're going to keep going back and forth. We're going to keep looking at what the day gives us, but always keep doing your own due diligence. Like we're just pointing directions into certain areas. You got to still make that decision on your own.
Well, you know what? These big guys have run pretty hard here, so I'm definitely keeping an eye on the mid caps, small cap space. Yeah. That's where I'm looking. They haven't
quite, some of them have, but really it's only been the larger LP so far.
Well, but that's usually been the trend, right? If you look at history, right? Yeah, the big three start to rip and profits get pulled, and at some point in the past, the mid caps and the small caps, the volume goes over there. But who knows what's going to happen here, right? There could be consolidation. So who knows?
Yeah, and
I'm not suggesting anything, but that's what I'm trying to keep my eye on every morning. Is are these mid caps, are these small caps really going to start to take off? Like I was thinking about it this morning. Like I remember being in these bull runs in the cannabis space, and it's like I remember so many times my jaw just on the floor looking at valuations, like not so much of the big guys. I mean, obviously cannabis kind of there now, right?
Yeah.
Where you're like, whoa, but it's more the small guys, and you're looking at what they have, and you're like, that is at a 300 million market cap.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And you're like, what is going on? That's usually when we're like near the peak of that run, right? So we shall see.
And it goes back to our point before where I said some are going to get left behind, and you said no. This is on live. They can go back and watch our second week video of this.
Yeah.
I said no. They're all gonna go. I do think.
What's the date today, Brandon?
September the 5th.
Okay, so we will. I don't know. I
think it is.
We will go back and we will relive this tape and see what the next month brings.
Yeah.
Before
we start pointing fingers.
Yeah, we can point fingers. It's fun, but let's just give it a little more time.
But going back to the mining sector, I still think it's going to be good. I still think it's going to run. It's just when it's this crazy in cannabis, you have to understand that some of these people, they're invested in both.
Yeah.
I mean, you look in our chat room sometimes, you see one person's like, okay, it's all sell off in cannabis. Okay, everyone to the mining chat room.
Well, yeah, the speculators move their money around.
Yeah.
You know,
investors. If you're an investor in a company, you know these little swings don't matter to you. You have a purpose. You got your head straight. You know what you want.
Yeah.
So these things are little blips.
Did you buy anything today?
I did not actually.
I did.
What did you buy?
Some TIG.
You did buy some TIG.
Yeah.
Very good. I did not. I had no buy or sells today, actually. I'm trying to go against what I did last year. Eve, actually, I had we both did had positions in there. I took some out just to see because it really ripped.
It was ripping.
It was incredible. It was incredible. I still think they have a lot more to go, but you know, one thing I had to learn after that whole January and February, and one thing I'm trying to implement: if something rips 20-30% and you're holding it, take some off. Take some off. That's personally what I like to do. Take a little bit off. You can. Who did? I think it was Chris Ackerman in our group. He was saying you'll never go broke taking profits.
Yeah, he was really. He commented that a couple times, and
that's a very important thing to remember during all this.
Personally, I don't subscribe to that.
Yeah, I know. You love
I'm a little more riskier.
You love your 500-700% gains.
Yeah, but you guys, you know, you're going to take losses with that attitude, right? But I mean, in the small caps and the cannabis, those, you know, they go on tears, man.
Yep.
Like just stupid.
It's crazy. Well, our first video, we'll jump to it. It was with Patrick Moher. Again, I was saying he's a good friend. We go with a little bit of intro in the video as well. We're going to be talking about 2 different companies, which you will find about right now. We are live with Patrick Moher, CEO of Ethical Image. How are you doing, man?
Good, man. Good to see you again.
I mean, we don't need introductions. We've known each other for quite some time. But
too long.
for people who are like, who is this guy and why is he on the show? Where have we come from?
Yeah, I guess the elevator spiel. So yeah, we got to know each other investing in the pot stocks from way back. We know each other from college.
It's like 7-8 years ago now.
Yeah, it's starting to make me feel old at this point.
Slowly and surely.
Yeah, slowly but surely. No, but and then so we got involved, I think, around the same time with the pot stocks, investing, you know, spare change that we found under the couch in some cool companies, and so that brings us to today after the pot stock craziness. You know, you're working on the financial side, and you know, I left my photography job in January to start Ethical Image.
You've been weddings and all those things. I remember for
I did a lot of corporate work, wedding work, portrait work. Basically, photographing anything with a human in front of my lens is to me, it's the most fun. Yeah.
And cannabis flowers, as
we'll
see soon.
That was the next logical step for sure. A lot more fun.
Yeah, because I remember, you know, back when people were not talking about cannabis stocks. I was in Tweed, I was in Bedrocan from way back when. I remember I made a post on Facebook, and you're like, hey, are you investing in weed? It's like, you too? You're the one other person? Yeah. And I remember this was before I knew anything about Alan Brockstein and
420 Investor. That's where I got my start, actually.
Before FTMIG was even a thought. I mean, this was years ago, and I remember talking back in 2016. We talked before, but I remember specifically 2016, we started learning about warrants. And we were trying to get into Supreme Pharmaceuticals. It's like, no, but there's big warrants coming out in like December. Let's try to hit them in January when everyone starts doing the profits thing. Yeah. And we were just trying to do it the best job that we could, and we had nowhere to turn.
No, and it was such a learning experience, you know. It almost feels like, you know, what is 3 years now, like we're almost pot stock OGs in a sense, because you got this new money coming in causing this latest parabolic.
And look what's happening today too, right? It's cannabis mania as well. I mean, we'll be talking about this with Karl later on the show for sure.
Yeah.
Because everyone's like, oh, are we going to have another run? Absolutely you are. This is the biggest legalization moment since Prohibition was done in, what, the 30s, wherever that was?
Yeah.
Forgive my history lessons there.
Well, and leave it to Canopy to be the one to kick it off again with Constellation, right?
Yeah,
Those
so
guys
a little bit of pullback today,
wild.
but I think it's just a little bit of profit taking.
Of course.
But to what you're doing. Like you said, we went into having a platform of exposure for ourselves. I love the financial side as well, but you went into specifically the photography and videography, and you were strictly cannabis now. Yeah,
so I mean, really I saw this as an opportunity, one that I probably shouldn't pass up on, so I dove right in. So I started Ethical Image. It's basically a content creation agency for the cannabis industry specifically. So we've branched out into a couple other mediums recently, but our main focus is content creation, so photography, videography, graphic design, web design, copywriting, podcasting, and then more recently a little bit of PR, social media, marketing, stuff like that. But yeah, we've built up a portfolio of a lot of cool content. That
you've been everywhere.
I can't wait to show the
go
world.
to a quarter of the events that you go to, and every single time I go there, there's Pat with, you've got your backpack, all your cameras.
yeah, you know, it's like always doing something.
I've got 5 more headshots to do.
yeah, but you know, I love it, and I'm driven by the premise behind Ethical Image. Actually, is for it to be a philanthropic agency, as I remember talking about, you know, this with you from the ground up. So trees are really important to me, planting a lot of trees, not just cannabis trees, haha, no pun intended. But for every job we do, if it's a lower scale job, we plant 100 trees in sub-Saharan Africa, and if it's a larger scale job, we plant 1,000 trees or more. So I'm proud to say that we've planted like thousands of trees so far as Ethical Image. I don't have the tree counter on the website yet, but it's coming, and it feels good to be able to give back and contribute to change in this nascent sector that's about to explode and become this biggest disruptor. I see this as, you know, great opportunity to do some good for the world.
No, absolutely. And you're saying about to explode, and people in their minds they might think like, well, not just that, but they might think of stocks, and yes, the stocks are exploding, but the actual industry is still very much in its infant stage. The stocks aren't. You know, people have been making their money along the way, whatever it be, but we haven't even begun to start looking into all the different derivative products. We haven't even begun to start looking into what the hemp industry is going to turn our North American economy upside down. So you are right, about to explode in that sense. But if anyone is going, oh, the stocks are exploding right now.
What's he talking about? Two different things.
Two different things there.
I'm talking about the creative, the storytelling, and I can't wait to tell some really cool company stories. We got some stuff under wraps, so I can't wait to share.
Speaking of all these different companies, I've got a lot of photos here because you're a
why don't
busy
we pull
man.
some up?
Why don't we fire some of these up and see if I can do this whole thing? Did I time this properly?
Let's see.
It didn't work. That's what you get for trying to do something on the fly.
Well, you know, it happens.
Here we go. I'll pretend like I did it that time. So, what are we looking at for all these photos here?
First, we're going to scroll through a couple of headshots. I did these, most of them I did at Lyft 2018 on location for the Canalists. They're building a website, so they wanted headshots for their AMA content. So we got Aaron Sauls, Dan Sutton, Trina Frazier, the Twitter legend.
Yeah, all over it.
Yeah, killing it. So just a lot of like
legalities. That's the one to look to.
Supreme, they're killing it nowadays. They're on fire.
Fowler.
Yeah, Mr. Fowler's on fire.
He's on.
That Citron short attack was hilarious, and his.
I was gonna say he's on fire, but in a different way. They rebounded though. They rebounded.
Oh, absolutely. He made a great appearance on CNBC.
There was someone on here with James actually. I never caught his name. I caught a little bit of his raw yesterday or the day before, and they were talking about the fact that one of the things is that they had these supply deals with the provinces, and he didn't state the kilograms or didn't state whatever it be. The provinces asked
Ontario mandated that they didn't
do not do that, and then a few did and some didn't. So you know that's a little bit of a shaky leg to have gone.
It was an interesting short attack.
I haven't watched his interview, but apparently he came out, explained all that, and it's up 15% earlier today.
When I met Mike, we toured. You'll see some photos from the Peace Naturals facility a little bit later. What up, Deepak?
Yeah.
And honestly, I was so impressed with his level of knowledge and expertise. It was wild.
Yeah. So I love it.
Yeah, a lot of really cool people. I guess getting cropped off by the screens a little bit. But, you know, that's my bad. I'll plan that better next time in my frame. Yeah, Mr. Benjamin Ward.
So I'm going to go these a little bit quick because I think we have quite a few.
Yeah. Scroll through at your leisure.
Names in there.
And faces cool
that are really. Here's the cannabis.
So here's the cannabis, the real cannabis. Yeah. So this is the Peace Naturals facility. We did a tour. If you go to the Cannabis subreddit, you can check out the written version of the tour and some of these photos online. Beautiful, beautiful plants, and they're doing some very cool experimental work there.
A little bit more interesting than a wedding, eh?
A little bit more interesting than a wedding, and it smells better too.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, you'll notice.
Venue, if the AC breaks down, I can.
You know, yeah, it's well, no, if your AC breaks down, that's pretty bad.
And where's this?
This is the Kronos greenhouse. So they have, as Mike creatively labeled the facilities, 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Makes sense. It makes sense.
You know, yeah, I loved it. And so this is actually Muskoka grown. They're a new cannabis content creation client.
Full room.
It's a full room. And what I was most impressed by, actually, we have a little video to show you later from these guys, is this is their second harvest ever.
Really?
Yeah. So I can't wait to see what kind of buds they're cranking out in here.
The exact same shirt.
I had to throw in a shout out.
The exact same shirt. I have worn this shirt since that event, but
I love it.
It always works that way.
I love it. I planned that, yeah. So now we move over into a little bit of event photography, just from all the shows, the expos. Yeah, so we started with Lyft, and then I think we've got O'Cannabis. O'Cannabiz, MJ BizCon, and then the Bazinga Capital Conference, and just a couple show highlights.
That's a cool car, actually.
I love it. The Indiva, the Indiva truck. Yeah, they're a cool team, and you got Louis K there. He always hooks me up with my press passes, so I gotta shout out.
Made all cropped off there, but we still know who you are.
Yeah, this screen really likes cropping people's faces off, Mr. $5 billion man. Yeah. So just a lot of fun, happy event images with my friends.
You've got like half the sector in this slide right now.
Yeah, it's funny how these Leaf Forward guys, they're doing some great work. They have the accelerator coming online now for entrepreneurs. So really, just amazing opportunities abound in the cannabis space. And the one thing, actually, you'll see her later in the show, Melissa Rolston, when I was sort of starting to dip my toes into the industry, she just said, go to all these events, go to the Leaf Forward events, go to the cannabis, and make friends like the White Sheep Capital Corp people. And
I was actually at that event, absolutely.
Yeah, it was a good one. They did a great job hosting. Yeah. Hamish is an OG. You got Brendan Kennedy of Tilray there.
It just keeps going on. Free. You have every single LP locked in this little.
So here actually is Alan, and these are all 420 investor members.
Really?
Yeah, that I got to finally meet.
Very nice.
I actually got started
a convention of some sort.
MJ BizCon, or sorry,
like an after party
Bazinga Capital Conference. So you got Tim Seymour from CNBC's Fast Money in there with Alan.
Very interesting.
Paul Rosen.
You've been busy. You've been busy over this last
few months. Yeah. It's
But
it is what it is, right? Everyone in this industry kind of moves at the same pace. It's super accelerated, so you got to be able to move fast and think quickly and react and adapt to keep afloat.
Now, you also we showed a lot of photography. You're also in videography as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we've got 2 videos to show. Why don't we show the first one?
Should we rip right into one of them?
And we could see some of your handiwork.
So this first video actually is from James Wagner. Me and Adam, a friend of mine from Respecting the Process in Kitchener, we teamed up and did a photo video tour with them.
Very nice.
Love these guys, love the company, and love that they're from Kitchener, my hometown. So
there we go.
I thought we'd just show them off for a second.
Let's put this video on. We'll cut our mics here.
Cool.
Awesome. I love it. Yeah. I love it. Because I remember the very first one, actually, many people don't know, when we went down to Matica, actually.
Oh, yes.
And we were just like, let's film a video there. Why not for our investors?
Yeah.
We just drove to Quebec.
Yeah, that was fun.
And that was the first time that we filmed their facility fully complete.
Yeah,
so that was interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now you're going right into full-on.
And that was my
ops.
first facility, so it was cool to see, you know, from 10,000 square feet to seeing hundreds of thousands. Just, you know, the difference between each company and what they do. So
it's amazing.
That was just a little like photo video compilation. But we've got a lot more videos. It's tricky trying to release them, you know, with the NDAs and the privacy and all that. But we got a couple more coming that I'm excited to share. But we do have one more from actually
Muskoka Grown, I believe.
Muskoka Grown, and it's a bit more of a storytelling video only, just to demonstrate different styles and outcomes of video.
Why don't we go to that right now then?
Absolutely.
Excellent.
My name is Daniel Blue. I'm the master grower here at Muskoka Grown. Today we're going to look at our second crop. It's shishkaberry. It is a hybrid indica variety, and we're harvesting it today. So this is shishkaberry. It is a cross between an Afghani landrace and blueberry. Has a very strong terpene profile and flavor. We've been growing this crop for 60 days now in flower, and it is ripe. We're taking it down today. You guys need smell-o-vision because it smells like skunky fruit, in my opinion. Very strong odor, very strong taste, great terpene profile. So here's probably my favorite bud in this room. You can tell it's just an extremely healthy plant, just a great harvest from the size, the crystals on this bud, the color of the leaves. This one just had a little bit more space to express itself. And you can see it used all of that space to fill in and grow as big as it possibly could.
And back again.
What do you think?
Those are really, really healthy looking plants.
Right? For their second harvest, the quality of that progress leap to me was just insane.
Well, no, I appreciate you coming on the show, man.
Long-time
friends, investors, and now business associates as we go across this sector.
Can't wait for our first collaboration.
Exploding.
Yeah.
So I appreciate it very much, my man.
Thank you.
You're always welcome. I'm sure we'll have you on again soon.
That would be fun.
And we're back.
And we are back. What a guy. Love him, man.
I like to work with people like that.
Yeah. He was the one when we were crazy enough, we were like, hey, our Facebook group were wondering about the Matica facility. And we said, hey, we can't pay you anything, and we're not getting paid for this, but do you want to come out and film a cannabis facility?
Yeah. And
sure.
It's like last minute.
He said, yeah, sure. I think it was a day notice or 2 days.
Yeah, it was silly. Yeah. There was actually bad communication too.
Yeah, he jumped in the car.
Yeah.
He gave us his time to come down.
Yeah.
That was our video that we released months ago.
Yeah.
And ever since, he's been doing a lot of pro bono work because he knew that he wanted to be in the industry, and he was switching over from doing weddings and things like that. So he understood the photography and videography aspects. He understood cannabis, but he just wasn't known at the time. Well, now he's one event after the other. All those headshots.
I know. I see him everywhere.
It's great. I like people like that. That's who we put ourselves around because that's very much what we want to be as well.
It's the mindset. He's an entrepreneur at the core. You can tell. Someone that offers up their time and doesn't worry about money. They're not worried about. He's not worried about working for money. You know.
No. Money will follow.
Exactly.
Money will follow when you put the hard work in, and it's the people where you can't always do that. But if you can put yourself in a winning position, where you have more free time to be able to put work in. Like for myself, I went down to working once a week. I actually went down to a point I had $0 in my checking account. All of my investments were still there, but $0 in my checking account because I was not working. I was putting 60 to 80 hour work weeks every single week into Follow the Money Investor Group.
Right.
It's because I see where we're going. I see the different things that we were doing. I'm sitting in James West chair, folks.
Well, do you want to elaborate on how you put yourself in a winning position?
Easily, and this is, I know you're smiling, it's like, this is why we like each other and we work well with each other. The biggest thing is live within your means. You know, I don't go out partying all the time. I don't go to clubs and start spending $100 on bottles. I mean, if you have the money and that's what you like to do, by all means, but most of us don't have money for that. I'm renting out a room, $400 a month, so you cut your expenses back. My car's paid off, 04 TSX, still.
What do you do with your money?
I put it into my investments, or quite frankly, in the last few months, I put it into food because it kept going so low. But that's what you need to do sometimes. You know, I had to make sacrifices to be where I am right now, and I'm very confident that, especially with some of the investments we've been going in the last 6 months or so, like really early on investments and finding out about things, building a network. My portfolio is doing great. My bank account was just lagging, but it's because I put everything in my portfolio. I want it to grow.
You put yourself in a winning position because you can take shots. Yeah. That's really the formula. That's how you will get rich.
Yep. Because I've been in situations where I had, you know, when I got out of school, I had my OSAP, I had my car payments, I had my insurance, I had my cell phone bill, all these different things. I had to buy a bed. I had to buy all these different things coming out of school and starting to live, you know, life after school. It was almost impossible to make investments after that. When I first went into Bedrocan, my very first investments in cannabis, I bought in for $300, $300, and like $500. And that's all I had. I had nothing else.
Yeah, but that was a risk for you at that point.
That was a risk for me at that point.
Yeah.
But you have to start somewhere. But you know, I always think back to that. You know, the what ifs. Don't get the what ifs out of your head. But for this talk, the what ifs are there. You know, what if I was able to cut back things earlier? What if I didn't go for that nice car where I was paying that off for 4 years? What if, you know, I didn't live spending so much money on going out or in restaurants and all that? I would have had more money to go into that. I made 800% returns on Canopy.
Well, we actually have an administrator who's, you know, listened to some of the stuff we talk about and he's applied it to his life. So now he's, you know, he's cutting back on the stupid materialistic things and wants to take more shots. So now he has more money from his paychecks to now put at whatever investments he likes, speculative investments, whatever it is, right? And to me, that's a winning, that's a recipe for success eventually.
Eventually, it doesn't happen overnight, and you can't.
No, there's a learning curve. You're not going to win every time.
You can't just quit your job and just go into this, but you find ways to keep making those proper steps because you can't follow the money if you have none.
No, but
you need some.
But you're going to make mistakes though.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to get in. You're going to buy into things.
Make mistakes. You're going to get messy.
You're going to.
What's that from?
I don't know.
Magic School Bus. Come on.
Dude, I don't watch movies, man.
The stocks, again, going back to them, I just saw in our chat, Tilray, $94.
Yeah.
That is insane.
Yeah.
Not in necessarily a bad way. I just can't believe. What did it IPO at?
They were backed by some big money.
Wasn't it $17?
That's the jaw dropping.
What was the IPO again?
I don't know.
20
bucks maybe.
I can't remember.
I missed it. I don't care.
I know my buddy Greg, every time I don't go into something, he goes into something, it just skyrockets.
Greg. Oh, shout out to Greg and Todd.
Yeah.
Like this morning on the Go Train, I'm looking at all the news releases, and they put those news releases into MMJ Investing to Ross Chapman's Facebook
phenomenal group, by the way.
Shout out to those guys.
Yep, he's always done great due diligence.
Yep, and Ross has that history of DD too. You can go back for years. Anyway, big shout out to Greg and Todd for doing all that stuff for us, and we appreciate it.
Yeah, and for those who are watching, FTMIG.com, if you go on there, and just like you were saying, Greg's up at like 5 in the morning every morning. He's crazy. He goes to bed at 12, wakes up at 5. That's all he needs.
Yeah.
The news releases for cannabis, for blockchain and mining, as they're coming out, are going right onto the website. So you can go on there in the morning, go through the different news, and again, it's just all part of the due diligence process, getting the information, because the more information you have, hopefully, and as you get better, the better decisions you could be making for yourself.
You know what's great about reading the NRs from our website? I've been told that it's a lot easier on your eyes. Like a lot of people like reading the news releases from our website versus, you know, wherever I forget where you get them from. There's a couple different places, right? Yeah. So yeah, you can just literally go in the chat room, or he'll start that news post in our Facebook group, and you can literally just click and scroll and way you go, right?
Absolutely.
And they don't really miss anything.
We have all the videos on there, all of these little videos that we have interviews and all that, splice them off, they go into the FTMIG exclusives.
Information age,
just learn.
Right there.
Yep.
You know,
Absolutely.
whether you're on the GO train or, you know, you don't want to obviously do that when you're in your car driving. But if you're a passenger, if you're a passenger in the car, you can be updating the driver on what's going on.
Yeah. So
I'm just looking at Eve here. It's back at 43.5.
Nice, nice.
Rocket.
That absolutely rocketed. I mean, those things catch your eye. I mean, it was Eve. This was yesterday. Eve flew huge. FE Pharma or FSD Pharma, I think they changed the name. That absolutely soared. Kron soared. You know, a bunch of different stocks. The double-digit days are back. Are they here to stay?
I don't know.
Oh, I was looking for more speculation there.
I'm just kind of, I'm comfortable with where I'm at with my positions, right? I'll be honest with you. I'm very, very loaded in mining right now. So I do have quite a bit of, firepower in the cannabis space, but I was early into my holding that I'm still in, and it's not doing very well right now. So I'm just waiting for these people to get their license, and that is Matica.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And someone shared a tweet of what's going on in Quebec. So obviously they're continuing to grow and just waiting for their license. So that's where I'm at.
Story of a lot of companies. There's a lot of applications out.
I did buy some Eve though. I did load up on Eve yesterday. So and today I wasn't really happy with what I was seeing around the 10 o'clock hour. So I actually unloaded it.
Yep.
And then I loaded into TIG.
Yeah, and you got to make those decisions sometimes. I mean, it's amazing how many great companies have terrible stocks, and how many terrible companies have amazing stocks. It's a very, very finicky. There's so many different components that make it. Now, that's not saying about either companies we just spoke about. I'm just saying in general.
In general,
it's been very, very interesting.
Well, there's different trading groups that, like for example, Matica. Like there's trading groups that love, running that stock. Right? Just whatever. And so it usually has good volume.
Yeah. And that's why it's important. And we had our L2s up earlier. For people who don't know what that is, it's level 2 quotes. Instead of just seeing the buy and the bid and ask, instead of just seeing don't do it just yet, I'll pull it up. Now you can. This will show you all of the bids and quotes if we've got it up on the screen here. Throughout all the bids and all the asks, you can start seeing resistance and start seeing support along the way. I mean, this one's flying right now, so I wouldn't read too much into this. It's a lot easier when it's a little bit slower.
Is that Kronos?
This is Kronos, I think it's cutting the corner out there. But what you could see, usually you only find the bid, which is what people want to buy it for, and the ask, what people want to sell it for. Usually you just see that one price, but L2 will show you all before and all after, and I promise you, a lot of traders, if you're trading, you should absolutely have this.
Oh, you have to.
But there's a lot of people who use this, and if you saw, it was at $10 even, and then at 10.01 there's like 300,000 shares up there. It's going to be hard to get through that wall. This will show you that though.
What's Aurora at right now?
Aurora?
That's big, man. Like some people, whoever was trading this over the last week, ever since that short report,
they must have.
You could have made it.
Oh my goodness.
Hypothetical, like hindsight 20.
So Aurora, still 21 million volume. I remember.
What's that? Oh, it's down.
It's down at 2.35%. I remember talking to somebody, I don't know if he's watching, Nasir, if you're watching, I'm listening to you, or I'm giving you a shout out over at Ryerson. Incredibly brilliant guy. He loves his technicals, though, when he's trading. He wants to see actual things. So when we first brought up cannabis stocks, this was last year before the crazy November rush, and I remember him saying, I need to be in a stock that has high liquidity, it has to be at least $1 million.
Volume, yeah.
Volume.
Sure.
And I'm looking like, have you seen a few of them recently? He's like, no, I haven't actually, because this is just when they started picking up in November. Now look at this. 20 million shares traded. We had around 15 million on Canopy. What did Huge do yesterday? Like 80 million shares traded hands. Huge.
Yeah, but they have over $1 billion.
They have a massive flow.
Yeah.
But that liquidity is incredible. And that's important in a stock as well, because basically liquidity gives you the ability that if you want to buy or if you want to sell, you're able to. Without that, sometimes it just never moves. Like, this is moving like crazy because we picked some really high flyers. I'm trying to think of what would be a slower one here. VRT, Veritas. I do like
just
them.
hit 44.
Did it really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Veritas.
So Veritas, this is what normal stocks usually look like, where it's just it's steady.
No,
they have 27,000 actually. It's not too bad for Veritas. they're in that CTLX strain of cannabis. They're still trying to get that for Puerto Rico for pain management. They want to do a human trial. So that's a bio play. That's for looking for a patent. I've owned them. I owned them at 22 cents and rode it to 40, and I bought back in at 24 cents, and now I'm in the red a little bit.
Yeah, I've made some money. That's quite the ask there at 24 cents.
Yeah, and that, by the way, again, for anyone watching, that ask 24 cents, and even 23 actually, 96,000.
You know what?
That's resistance to push up.
Yeah.
You have to get through that, and it's kind of hard with this much volume. It'll be hard to get through that.
I feel like for cannabis, this is where it's hard to stay on top of it, but the R&D side of it, that's where you want to be watching.
Yeah.
Honestly, R&D.
Yeah. Because
and oils and all that, right? But yeah, who's going to win that race?
I don't know.
And doesn't Canopy Rivers, isn't that something that they're kind of what it's made for?
Canopy Health. Oh wait, sorry. What were you saying?
Canopy Rivers.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think you're going on patents, all that kind of stuff. I got mixed up there. But all of them are fantastic companies. But we need to jump into our next clip here, because we're going to switch. That's a lot on cannabis. We're going to switch over to mining, because we spoke with John Newell, who actually just had a report. If you go to our Facebook group right now, the Follow the Money Investor group, I put it in there so that people can read the report and know what we're talking about. But he goes at length about what he feels about the mining industry right now, and what he feels about Triumph, which is a client of ours on FTMIG.com. They've got a featured page up there, just to full due diligence on that, or full disclosure on that as well. But we'll be able to talk about it a little bit more and see what he had to say. So we'll go over there now. And today we're here with John Newell. You are portfolio manager and technical analyst at Fieldhouse Capital Management. Thank you for coming on Skype today and coming on the show.
Yeah, well, thanks for inviting me. Pleasure.
Absolutely. And now for our watchers that aren't familiar with who you are and the work that you've done, you've been in the capital market for quite some time, and especially in the mining sector as well. Can you give us a little bit of a background of who you are and what you do?
Okay, well, I've been in the business about 38 years, and the precious metals market space was pretty choppy and back in 2013, and I really wanted to concentrate on the space. I thought it was undervalued, and I saw the relative strength of Canadian companies like Cisco and Probe, Lakeshore, Kirkland start to turn in 2013. And so in simplistic terms, the relative strength of Canadian miners started to get strong. And so I built a portfolio around that strength and built a pilot fund. It did very well. And in 2016, I was seated with a precious metals fund, a hedge fund, in April of 2016. Leading into 2016, there was kind of a major cycle bottom, much like 2001. And so I was trying to get seated for that specific move, if that makes sense.
No, it absolutely does, and that's been a huge focus of what people have been saying recently, is that, precious metals, and especially a lot of the juniors, they've reached bottoms in that 2016 year, and now it's looking like we're seeing somewhat of a resurgence of those, and you can see it. I mean, right in our chat rooms, we've got mining chat rooms for our company as well, and there's a lot of people talking about high flyers. You're looking at Golden, you're looking at SICK from a few weeks ago, Sokumon. You're looking at all these different aspects, and I believe you actually chose a couple of those. Jugger was another one that you were looking into, Juggernaut. It's nice to see that these are going and these are starting to really pick up. And the reason why you're on the show as well is that there was a certain one that you had an article come out on MoneyWise, the MoneyWise reports or Streetwise reports on August 31st about Triumph Gold. Are you able to talk about that one a little bit and why you think that could be a winner?
Okay, well, where I first start is I look at the technicals or the charts of companies, and back in early 2016 I had a good look at Triumph Gold. I didn't think it was ready. It went up and down kind of in a sideways base building pattern, and by the spring of this year it looked ready to go. I look at some specific triggers in those charts that I think are kind of hidden, and when that trigger starts to react, that's when I really start looking closely at investing. And that's what happened in Triumph Gold. The stock broke out, pulled back, and then you go and look at all the other boxes. Is it a good management team? Do they have good geologists? Is it in a good jurisdiction? Is it a district-style play that can move the needle for majors? And as you tick those boxes, it really comes down to the drilling and the truth machine. Are they going to have results that it's going to make majors interested in the property? And so Triumph ticked all those boxes. A good management team. Remember, it had gone through the wars from 2011-12 until really kind of last summer, and then the new management team got involved, had a different look at the project, and it looked like Goldcorp made the 19.99% investment in Triumph, and it looked like it ticked all the boxes, and it looked ready to go, and that's when I put out a first target of 70. I forget exactly. The next target is $1.20 and 240. That's what it looks like to me. There's no guarantee, but it hit and exceeded its first target, and when it did that, it has the right to obviously go to the next target. Corrections in moves for the work that I do is a good thing, because I get to see how the accumulation and distribution of a company's stock price. So corrections, although they're tough, are kind of a good thing.
Yeah,
in the work that I do.
And absolutely, and especially when you get really large appreciations in stocks, you like to see a little bit of a pullback sometimes, because that's a lot of profit taking, and those that were in at the very low amounts, like say 20 cents or 30 cents in this case, they're able to sell their stocks. Now new people buy it, now they have it at say 60 or 70 cents. So you're shaking the tree. You're getting a lot of loose hands out there. The people who are still holding their larger positions, I don't believe they're selling, although I don't have all that information, but sometimes you'd like to see that. And the article, by the way, you wrote an article on Streetwise Reports. For any of our viewers, if you go on to Follow the Money Investor Group on Facebook, I've posted that article in there so you can see what article we were speaking about, and I have it up on the screen as well here. It's a great representation of, you're going through the play itself, you're speaking about why the Yukon is important, but a couple of things that really stood out to me. I'm still learning this technical side of the mining sector. I was strongly in cannabis and all of that and in other areas, but I've always been a fundamentalist, and I look for things. If I was a gold company, what would I want to look for? And just like you said, it checks off the box. I love the fact that Goldcorp has a 19.9999% ownership of that company. For those that don't know, once you get at 20%, you have to make a qualifying bid to take over that company, so they're just before that. But the road is a huge aspect, where they have a road, and it says right in your article, where it's a government paved road, it goes right to the property, and it spans the entire 32 kilometers of the property. Those are expensive from what I hear.
Absolutely. That's a huge plus, and one can even extrapolate on that road, because there's the Western gold and copper property about 150 kilometers away, and it's kind of a natural extension of that road would be into that big porphyry. So it's a huge asset. One could even take the road right into the coffee projects, and that's pure speculation on my part, but the whole district and the vast unexplored areas in that whole Dawson range will be opened up by extending that road. And at this point it's speculation, but that road is a very strategic part of the company for sure.
Yeah, and if we keep this map up as well, this screenshot, what you'll see is TIG, Triumph Gold, they're down the bottom there. They've got 3 triangles on there. If you look up though, you'll see Coffee Creek Gold right there. And Coffee Creek is owned by Gold Corp, the company that owns 19.9999% of Triumph. And correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm almost positive I read it in your article actually, in your write-up, that there are no roads currently up there, and they bought that for what, $550 million. You don't think they're going to want to take a road and be able to extend it. It's just another, like you said, speculation. But when I'm looking at that, it's like, okay, if I'm Gold Corp, if I can buy this company, because you know a lot of these juniors are looking for buyouts. They want to prove that they're economical for these larger companies. If you can also have an aspect where it's like, okay, there's a road that goes here. I need to go, I think you said 150 kilometers more, but you could connect a road there. And from them spending that much money on Coffee Creek, you can imagine that that's at least in their heads. This is a possibility.
I think it's a possibility. Yeah. It is speculation. There's really good reasons to build a road from Dawson down to Coffee also. So it's a bit up in the air right now, but the mineralization and what Tony Barisi is getting with his geological team also makes Triumph it looks like it's shaping up to be a pretty good standalone property if the next round of drilling results prove up to be as good or better as the last one. So it's a moving target for sure.
Yeah, and for any of our investors reading this, listening to this as well, you always have to understand, especially with juniors and a lot of our audiences in cannabis as well, a lot of these things do have speculation involved. So, you know, just because we're saying it doesn't mean that it's a screaming buy, but when you're seeing people going into this and you're seeing these different pieces, it's like, okay, it's a screaming due diligence. Look into this company or look into companies that have these certain keys. But always, like you said, it's speculation, make your own decisions. But I like seeing these aspects, and that's why I'm personally an investor in the company, because I'm seeing this and I'm willing to see what these next round of drill results are, because they showed one pretty good hole. They've got to expand, from my understanding.
Yeah, Brandon, you made a really good point about due diligence, and I just came back from Terrace. And I visited the Juggernaut and Goliath properties. And I just want to say, I was tremendously impressed. Canadians, I think, are the best miners in the world. They're trying so hard, from mapping, geochem, geophysics, mag surveys, IPs, and all the work involved to narrow down the targets on these properties and to really try to prove up a mine, and we're at the early stages. It's really exciting to see, from prospectors to PhD mappers. It's from cartoon concepts to where to put the drills. It is really, really exciting. And the day-to-day fluctuations in the market can be frustrating. But what I saw up there, and it's the same with the Triumph team, these guys are really, really trying to put something important together. And it's it's really a privilege to be able to see these guys at work.
Yeah, and you know what? I love the enthusiasm that you have with that as well, and I appreciate that, all that information, because you know, as an investor, you want to make sure these companies are doing their due diligence. They are really trying to change things, and like I said, for myself, somewhat newer into the mining stage, but learning quickly because it's been fascinating. One of the things I keep hearing is that our technology is changing at such a rate where they are now able to find certain deposits that, you know, people 10, 15, 20 years ago were in the exact same area and couldn't quite pinpoint it. So now we're taking technology into it, and they're really thriving. I know the Canadian government really wants this as well, especially in the Yukon area. So it'll be very interesting to see all these different developments as they develop.
Yeah, a perfect example is Great Bear, and I have an article coming out on Streetwise, I think it's today, on Great Bear. I wrote it about 3 Fridays ago, but there was 160 odd holes put into that Great Bear property, and then a new geologist looks at it differently, educated differently, new techniques. You know, this property goes back to Miranda days and another group before that, and a new geologist, new scientific data, and he puts in they put in 20 holes, and it looks like they're building something very important. So that's another group that has really made Canadian miners shine, I think.
Yeah. No, absolutely, and I'm excited for it. I appreciate the time that you've taken to come on to this show. We'd love to have you on again in the future, especially as I know the drill's been going for Triumph for some time. It'll be very interesting to see next holes as they start coming up. If you're willing, we'd love to have you come back on whenever those do come out to speak about them and if they were what you were looking for.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Brandon. That's a kind offer, and I will.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your morning out there.
All right, you too.
We're back.
And we are back.
And TIG is at 75.
It's still going.
75?
Love it, love it.
Well,
I really like talking to John. I like speaking to people who know more than me in certain areas that I'm trying to learn. Because I said it numerous times, the fundamentals for companies, I love that aspect. When it comes to the technical side of mining, I'm still learning it.
Yep.
Speaking to someone like that and hearing them and seeing their facial expressions when they start getting excited about certain things, I like seeing that, and I like talking to people like that.
Well, Brandon, you don't have to be the loudest guy in the room all the time, which is exactly why we bring these people on.
Exactly. Yeah, but it kind of fails. My mom taught me how to speak to the back of the room. I learned how to speak through it. So
yeah, but you're learning.
I'm learning to take my tone down. Well, let's not waste any time because we have someone on Skype.
There he is.
And he's right here, almost in the flesh.
Holy cow. That's me.
Chris, how are you doing,
Chris.
sir?
Hey guys, can you hear me all right?
Yep.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
So Chris Perry, editor over at Equity.Guru. If you haven't heard any of his stuff, where have you been all this time? Equity.Guru.com. There's lots of good stuff on there. A lot of good due diligence. I appreciate the work you do.
I appreciate that. We're trying to bring back the spirit of David Baines to the public markets and swing the sword of vengeance. We figure that the best form of stock promotion is actual honest information, and that legitimacy is a nice marketing niche in the country right now.
Yep, absolutely. Chris, I've been following you for the last 2 to 3 years, and I love your work. I was actually watching some of your YouTube videos. You're at a mining conference. And
right.
you were just educating people on scams and to watch out for them, and I loved it. It was great.
Yeah, I my previous conference keynote was called 5 of you guys are going to be dead by this time next year, so we better get some new investors in the room. Which was kind of alarming to the old grey hairs that were there expecting to be told about grades of mine yield and etc. I really like to throw the cat amongst the pigeons and let people take notice of things that they normally sort of roll their eyes at.
Mm-hmm. Well, what do you think of the cannabis valuations right now, like Canopy?
It's insane, but it's been insane in late 2014, late 2015, late 2016, 2017. Myself and the Wolf of Weed Street have been saying all year long, get out of all weed until the end of the year. If you trace Canopy's share price, and that's a pretty good bellwether for where everything's gone over the last 4 or 5 years. From October to November, things get out of control every single year. We always have the conversation, are the valuations just stupid or are they justified? They're always stupid, and then they're justified the following year. So right now, I can't say that I'm not going out and playing with some stocks that I don't believe in long term right now, because everything's going up like nuts. But there's also some real value to be had if you look deeper into the medium-sized market, the guys that have maybe a nice niche, guys that have a story that hasn't been told so well. We recently started talking about Supreme. They've been pretty quiet on the marketing side for the past couple of years. As soon as we started talking about them, the market cap went from 300 million to 500 million. So I think there's a lot of value to be had in stories that if you do a little digging, you can find some value in, even if the Canopies of the world are at a valuation that will never ever make any sense.
You mentioned finding your niche. Do you think the big guys can find a niche in this market?
They'll buy a niche. They'll buy 5 niches and see which one works. I mean, that's been Canopy's way, right? Like, Canopy spent their way to trouble at every single turn. Every step this cannabis market has made, Canopy screwed it up somehow, and then just bought somebody who hadn't screwed it up. And Aurora's pretty much done the same thing, and Afria, to a lesser extent, is going out and finding nice little opportunities where they think maybe there'll be money in the future. So to me, I don't want to buy Canopy. I want to buy what Canopy's going to buy next. Right. And that's why we put out a story yesterday that melted our service down, which was basically a form guide as to what Canopy might be interested in putting its $5 billion to.
Yeah, I read that at 6 o'clock this morning, and then I sent it to my better half. She woke up.
It's good 6 a.m. reading.
Yeah, I told her, I said, honey, read this. So yeah, that was a great article, Chris.
Yeah. Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
So we talked about larger caps, and we talked about medium caps, and we've talked about juniors. What about the companies that we look at and just think to ourselves, what the hell is going on? And I'll say the company that we're looking at, and this is as me as an investor, I lost money on this play. When I saw the financials for Midas yesterday, I almost spit out my drink. There was $18 million. Do we have my screen? Can we split the screen? I've got it up here. $18 million on management compensation in 9 months. $2.7 million on public relations and investor relations when I kept emailing and got no responses. I could not believe it. I don't even think they've got $1 revenue. What is going on?
Well, you know what's going on. It's been going on at Midas for the last 3 years. Midas has always been smoke and mirrors. Like I tell a story often of back in the day when I was working at Stockhouse, and Midas signed a contract for a marketing program at Stockhouse, and we went in there to talk about it. And they had 8 verticals at the time, and I said, look, you bought 8 stories. I want to write a story about every single vertical you have. I want to explain all of these companies that nobody knows about, nobody understands, and I want to get right into the weeds on them. And they backed out of that contract the next day. They said, we don't think we can put a leash on Parry. The reality was that most of those verticals didn't exist. They were just companies that they created and press releases that they put out. And that scam continues to this day. The $17 million is the least of it. If you go start looking into some of the elements of what they're saying they have, I'd love to go out there and have a look, because all the things that they've said they've had over the last several years, none of them have come true. And realistically, you saw them selling Northern Vine, the lab that isn't a lab, as an equity event. Like, that was the only thing they had. They had a couple of machines with pretty lights that go ding. What else has Midas got? Like, it's a mess, and it just leads you into that whole Bridgemark den of bullshit, where for those that I guess don't know the form guide on Bridgemark, they'll come to you and say, we'll give you $4.5 million in a raise tomorrow. We'll give you a bank draft. It's in your bank account. You've got $4.5 million. What public company wouldn't like that? The other side of it is you're going to give us $3.5 million of that back as a check swap from marketing, and then you're going to give us a whole bunch of consultant warrants that we can trade in as quickly as we can. If you go back and look at any company that Bridgemark's done that deal with, any company at all, and it's easy enough, just Google $4.5 million raise. Not a single one of them has ever come out of it with their ass not bleeding. It is a disgusting mess. And the fact that it's been allowed to go this long is reprehensible. The fact that they're still doing it today, even though they're under investigation, is mind-boggling, and really speaks to the fact that they don't give a shit what the regulators have to say. The regulators never chase down their fines. No one's going to go to jail. And Justin Liu, the guy at the top of it all, driving his purple sports car around, you don't have to do a whole lot of Googling to find out what his deal is. His mom was a loan shark, allegedly. She was involved in a penny stock scam, allegedly. You know, there's a if you search for Justin Liu, L-I-U, and Vice, you'll find a story about all the illegal dispensaries they operate on the East Coast, and then you can track that back through the company that wants to take those illegal dispensaries public. And there's a tie into Bridgemark, and there's ties into Abatis, and it's an unholy mess.
Yeah. And if we can get my screen up again, this was off of cu.ca, so we're going to use that word alleged again. These are companies that people have looked into to see their involvement here, and you see some tickers up here. You'll see the All Shares Matter hashtag. People have seen Karl with that shirt numerous times. Again, it's just pounding the fact that retail investors do have a voice. But if you look at some of those, you look at CRIP, ATT, AFI, DNAX, 9, UAV, it goes on easy, it goes on and on and on. Look at their charts. You decide. Look at their charts. And I know that a lot of stocks went up, and I know a lot of stocks went down, but when you start seeing trends like this, you know, as an investor, I want to look for these things because I want to make smart decisions. I want to, you know, if I know my buddy down the road is trying to screw me over in some sort of way, I'm going to stop buying off my buddy. That kind of goes with stocks as well. You have to be knowledgeable of who runs the company, who owns it, and you see some of these things. I mean, going back at Abatis, you see some certain aspects of the deals that they made. And you know, this is my money that they're making the deals with. Like, it was my money. I lost $2,000 on it. Not an extravagant amount, but that's a good amount of money.
It's a question
so
for
I
you
really
on that.
care about what my company is doing because I own a piece of it. That's why you buy shares. You own a piece of a company, and to see a company, you know, where $18 million was for management and their stock went down by 80%, that makes me upset. And that's why we wanted to reach out because I know that you've touched up on that as well yourself. Investors should know about this.
Yeah, well, look, I would question, why would you put $2,000 into Abatis? Like, at what point in their lifespan has there ever been something where it looks like this is a legitimate play? It's been a rotating cast of characters. It's been a lot of promises that they've never delivered on, not one time in their history, other than a recent promote and raising some money here and there from nefarious characters. There's been nothing in this company that has ever said you must invest in this thing. Now it's valid to have a nice across the board scope of a lot of different plays, but man, anyone I would say, and this is on you, man. Like, you got to do some due diligence, and you do the most basic due diligence on Abatis, and it's nothing. It's gone. It's money out the window. It's always been money out the window.
Yeah, and that is going down in my record as the largest percentage loss I've ever had in a stock. And that actually emphasized the reason that I like looking into companies. I still got caught up in everything going crazy, and I looked at their investor presentation. Whoever the marketing person, the investor presentation, it's a phenomenal investor presentation. And
that's where all the money
I got
went.
By it. It's afterwards when you start looking into it more, you know, that's my largest percentage loss that I've had throughout the cannabis stocks. And it's like you said, why? I threw a dart. I fell victim to it. Yep.
That'll get you. That'll get you. The dartboard never really pays off. But you know what? It'll probably come back because there's a lot of crappy companies that do. And if you look at Abatis' history, it's had moments of share price appreciation, usually on the back of that massive amount of money they're spending on marketing. And bless them, you know, the guys like me, we love companies that spend money religiously on marketing and don't really want anything back for it. I just wish that they'd put $1 million of it in my account, because I would still write negative things about them, but I'd still have $1 million.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? It's a great lesson. It's a great lesson. That's one of the reasons why we wanted to bring this up on the show. Is it's not necessarily about that company specifically. It's not necessarily about, and it's about put a little time into the companies that you're going to invest in, because you never know when you're going to get caught by something. You know, you never know when there's insanely cheap paper that's about to come out 2 days from now, and that company might be great, but that cheap paper comes out and it just tanks the day after you bought it. Put your time in, you know,
you can get
do
caught
your due
on
diligence and make your choices.
You can get caught on a great company, like, you know, T-God I'm a fan of. I love T-God and they're a client, but there's a lot of paper coming out that's going to put pressure on that stock. So what they're doing is they're trying to minimize that by going out and doing as many good deals as possible and as many big deals as possible. So they've managed to keep that share price up to the point where when that paper does come off and people take their inevitable profits, because $1.15 to $7, you're going to sell. There's actually something behind it there. A company that is just running on fumes, and 50% of the weed companies are that, will have inevitably a whole bunch of cheap paper out there that someone got for $1.50, and it's going to sell for whatever you're buying for, and you're left holding the bag. So people have to stop being manic about the weed sector and thinking that everything's going to make money. Realistically, nothing's going to make money. There's going to be carnage in the sector before there's any profit. But what's going to happen between now and then is some companies have a long way to go to reach the valuations that other companies currently have. So look for value. Shop at the dollar store when it comes to stocks. Don't shop at Neiman Marcus.
Yep. I preach that all the time. Don't chase rockets. I mean, if you're going to get into a new space and you're early, sure, there's some dart throwing that goes on and it turns out to be successful, but we're not in that place anymore. It's just the way it is.
So,
yeah,
Chris, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, actually, you know, you were talking about looking into companies that do have that value, and ones that, you know, once you start peeling back the different layers of what they're doing and where you think they're going to go, are there any that you look at right now and say, you know what, I think that's very attractive? You said Supreme earlier. Are there any others?
Yeah, Supreme's maybe a little less attractive now that it's practically doubled its market cap in the last 10 days. But look, I think what I want to do is I want to find who am I going to do business with. What am I going to buy? What am I going to consume? And who's the most likely to succeed in that area? Where is there value to be had? I think beverages is obviously the hot area right now, and it's driving the whole market. But am I more likely to double my money by buying Canopy at 62 or Sproutly at whatever Sproutly's at today, $1.20 or something? You know, I want to triple my money. I want to quadruple my money, and I'm going to do that by finding things that aren't yet the successful stuff, that aren't yet the hot trend, the sectors that still need a little love. Like if you were buying Tinley when it was at 50 cents before the Canopy deal happened, you're loving it now. You've just about doubled your money, and that's in a couple of days, right? Canopy can go from $48 to $62, and that's impressive looking, but it's not a double, right? And to get a double from Canopy from here requires so much heavy lifting in terms of value that I can't see it ever happening. That said, I've said that every year since 2014, and they keep doing it. So, but I think niche industries. I like G-Tech because it's artisan growing in an area that I think will become a green tourist spot in the Okanagan. I like C21. I think they've got big plans and they're moving quickly to achieve high revenue through acquisition. I like Supreme because John Fowler is a fucking machine, and whatever the weed industry does going forward, he will be at the heart of it. He's slow to buy stuff, but I know he wants to buy stuff like a madman, and he's got a massive war chest at his disposal. You know, there are a lot of good companies out there. TGIF down in Nevada, no one's watching them. No one's watching Friday night because they think it's a David Stadnick, let's go get shit-faced on a Friday night in Vegas deal. Braden Sutton is running that show down there, and he is running it like a Fowler Jr. He is acquiring good stuff, getting into a lot of sectors. It's certainly not going to be a sparkly sit on the strip and let's all be wear affliction t-shirts kind of deal. That deal is going to mature quickly, and it's going to be a much bigger deal than anyone sees.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up actually, because TJF is an American company. I was completely out at Alan Brockstein, I'm sure you're well aware of him. When the Cole memo was rescinded, and I was a part of 420 Investor, that was a really big sign to sell a lot of American cannabis, because that was a huge sign like, oh no, for the temporarily, there's an issue. And I remember looking at certain stocks and being like, I can't wait to get back in them. Like your MPX Bioceuticals, look what they just did. Most people had never heard of them, and they're what, 4th or 5th revenue per quarter of any company in North America. TGIF, you've got Body and Mind, they're out in Nevada. Is it time to start looking at American cannabis and think, you know what, I know it's still legal federally, but there are some gems out there especially compared to Canadians?
So the Canadian market is maturing quickly, but it's going to hit its glass ceiling, right? Everyone who's going to have weed in Canada is going to have it shortly. In the US, that ceiling is a long way away. And what I'm looking for in that country is, and what Canopy said they're looking for as well, they're looking for US exposure. They want companies that are going to quickly become national companies. Now, right now, to become a national cannabis company in the US is problematic because every state has different rules. There's different things allowed in different places, and federally still illegal. But you look at a company like Ianthus, which has coverage now in like 5 or 6 states. You look at what's happening with C21. Crop infrastructure is in a couple of countries and 3 or 4 places in the US. These companies are looking to get to a point where when big pharma and big agriculture and big whatever the hell comes in and says, I want to be in the weed game, they're going to do what Constellation did with Canopy. They're going to go for something that can be large quickly, and not necessarily something like Canopy that is overvalued right now. I said in my piece yesterday, Ianthus, I think, is a screaming buy at the valuation that it's at, and the amount of states that it's in. The thing to look at with Ianthus, MedMan says we have X number of dispensaries, and that's fabulous. But Ianthus has a similar number of dispensaries. The key difference is that in certain states, having a dispensary means you can deliver to the entire state. So having a dispensary in Florida means you have distribution across Florida. Having a dispensary in Vermont means the same thing. So Ianthus has really sort of tooled themselves up to be competitive to, say, a MedMen, but like a 1/5 of the market cap, which I think is very attractive. And they don't have all the votes as well.
Yeah, Ianthus actually, earlier the year, I grabbed it at $2, sold it at $4, got 100% out of it, but then you saw the run that went on right afterwards.
It has just never stopped growing, and that's a fantastic sign. It means that the guys who have that stock, they're not just holding it, they're adding to it. They're telling their friends about it, and they're being rewarded for it with good management doing good things. Full disclosure, Ianthus is a client, but the reason that Ianthus is a client is because we looked at them and said, holy crap, these guys we need to be associated with, went after them and got them. Same with Supreme, same with TGIF. Like, we don't go and wait for companies like Abatis to come along with a check. We go out and we find best of breed and say, let's work together so that you guys can get your story out in the way that you need to.
Chris, on that note, switching gears a bit, I believe CCW is a client of yours, right?
CCW, yep.
Yeah, okay. So we're a big fan. We've had John from BMR on here last couple weeks to help us understand CCW and their tech. Their stock's pulling back here. What do you think about them? What's your take on them?
So I would challenge anybody who finds themselves in the same room as Frank Basser, the CEO of CCW, to sit down and have a beer with him and just listen, because that guy will tell you stories that will make you very happy to be involved with his outfit. He's a no bullshit guy. He'll tell you all the things he screwed up with. He'll tell you all the things that he thinks are great. And look, that region I think should be red hot. It isn't because lithium's got a drag on it, but I really like what's going to happen in the cobalt region. We've got clients there in terms of Cobalt Power Group. We used to have First Cobalt / Cobalt Tech. We've had a lot of clients that have been up there, so we understand the region well. The only problem with that region is the best property is lived on by people. There are drills going in behind the hockey arena in Cobalt. You know, like it's literally if they could move the people away, they could drive bulldozers through it and pull out the blue stuff. So the challenge for Canada Cobalt Works and everyone else up there is that they're picking around the edges of where they really know the good stuff is, and the greater sector is not really rewarding them in the way it should. All the craze that we had for lithium and cobalt over the last couple of years has died off, even though the things that we were buying the stocks for, the growth in electronic vehicles and electric vehicles and in batteries, it's all happening now. Like all the stuff we thought was going to happen is happening, and yet we're not buying the stock anymore. So what are we just chasing the market, or are we actually buying for a reason? If you're buying for a reason because you're looking at a Tesla or an electric vehicle to replace your gas guzzler, if you're looking at oil and gas and saying that's not going to come back as a thing, then you should be buying the crap out of cobalt, you should be buying the crap out of lithium and manganese and graphite for that matter. You got to put your money where you believe you're actually going to be standing in a couple of years' time. And I think CCW is doing everything that it should to be right there when the rubber hits the road on that respect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'd love to have Frank on here and, you know,
he's a good guy.
Ask him some questions.
No, well, we won't take too much of your time, but I do have one more question for you, because we just spanned cannabis. We went to a little bit of mining, and although technically it still is cannabis, hemp. Are you starting to look for, because don't get me wrong, where we are in hemp is like where we were cannabis 2 or 3 years ago.
Yes.
It is going to explode. Who are you looking at?
Hemp is my jam. Hemp. We've been talking about hemp for a couple of years, but no one paid any attention to it, so we've just kind of stopped. But hemp is, forget cannabis, like, and I know hemp is cannabis scientifically, but forget standard commercial cannabis. The getting high market is already getting high. No one who wants to get high isn't already getting high. So that market's already rich and mature. The hemp market expands way beyond that. It's cheaper to grow. You can grow it outdoors and no one's going to steal it in the back of a truck. It's useful for all the cannabinoid purposes. It's useful for building. It's useful for clothing. It's useful for paper. Like if we can stop cutting down our forests to produce newsprint, that'd be a good thing. Well, hemp will allow us to do that. The problem is that hemp has been under the same restrictive rules as cannabis has for the most part for the last God knows how many years. So farmers that have been growing it in expectation that maybe one day things will change. I know some people at Hempco that Aurora bought recently, and you know, they will tell you on the quiet that they invested in some machinery that wasn't useful for them a couple of years ago. They weren't legally allowed to use it, and there was a lot of consternation as to whether they were wasting their money or not. As of now, they're allowed to use it, and that means that they can process the entirety of the hemp plant instead of just the seeds. So that company suddenly becomes a much bigger deal. Aurora's already got the deal on it, so it's not much use for us. But other hemp plays that are out there, including with which TGIF is now one of them, they've just done a deal for a hemp play in Nevada. Those are going to be really interesting going forward. Nobody understands them, so there's no valuation given to them. But I guarantee you within 2 years, the majority of Canadian farmers will be growing hemp and little else.
Absolutely, and that's why I bring it up, because I've been thinking, the reason I actually got into Bedrocan when I first started investing in cannabis was because I saw a clip on hempcrete and thought this is literally the future. You can build a home with it. It's your insulation, your vapor barrier, and it's flame retardant, and it actually has a negative carbon footprint as well. And what you can use, you open up your cupboards in your kitchen, you open up your cupboards in your basement or your washroom, there's a good chance hemp can replace half of that stuff. And we haven't even begun doing that yet. And it's like you said, trees. Why are we cutting down trees for paper and clothing anymore? You can just grow hemp. Why are we worried about the Trans-Pacific Pipeline if we could be using hemp for plastic and oils? You know, it's been suppressed for such a long time, and I won't put my tinfoil hat on why, but I have some pretty damn good reasons for why it would. There's such a future with hemp, and we're not talking about it.
No, we're not. And I'll tell you, over the last few months, I've heard a couple of pitches from private companies that are in that field that are starting to look for public money. The problem is that everyone's put a high valuation on getting stoned. And honestly, that's just not a business that I'm interested in. I don't want to be sending people into a tailspin. I want to be sending people into a cancer-free world. I want to be building cheap homes in Haiti. I want great swathes of hemp fields in Zaire that make everyone in that country a living wage and bring us way cheaper than cannabis access to oils. Like we haven't, as you said, we haven't begun to touch the surface on hemp. Anyone who thinks that marijuana is about to get to its peak, it is, but I guarantee you all the LPs are looking at hemp right now. They're all thinking, if we grow hemp instead of weed, will we be able to get a cheaper cannabinoid oil out of it? They're experimenting with a whole bunch of stuff. It's going to be great. And there's going to be other things as well that you can extract cannabinoids from that are going to be big going forward as technology gets better for it. So any company that, to me, that is actively looking at what's next is a good bet. And beverages is great. Everyone's excited about beverages now, but what's after beverages? What's going to happen after that? Is it going to be vitamins? Is it going to be prescription drugs? Is it like, that's where you want to have your money, is the thing that no one's looking at yet.
Yeah, I think some of the big players are still confused themselves, trying to figure out where the market's going, honestly. I mean, I'm going to keep a close eye on R&D, but it's just hard. You know, just keep networking and bring people like you on here, and maybe we'll figure it out.
No, absolutely. And Chris, I appreciate your time. I didn't think we were going to be spanning cannabis, mining, and hemp all in the same half hour. So I appreciate it. I'll be keeping a close eye on what your picks are coming in the future for hemp, because it's like you said, we haven't even begun with hemp. I can't wait until people start realizing how special that plant is and the companies that start making some incredible products out of it.
It's going to be great. Thanks, guys. Anytime.
All right, Chris. Yeah, take care, man.
Thank you. There we go. And we switched over to Sir Tyler.
Tyler's in the house. What's going on?
Hi, guys. How you?
Good. Good, good.
Did you watch the whole thing with Chris there?
Of course. You guys know I watch live. You do.
Yeah. Yeah, he's fantastic. I mean, I didn't expect him to go to that many different sectors, actually.
You know what? Well, I know he covers them, so I'm not surprised at all. I just wanted to ask him about CCW because the stock is doing poo right now.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
So, who's Tyler?
Tyler is a friend of mine and Ash's, and we've been networking together now for the better half of probably 3 or 4 months. And I thought, you know what? Let's bring him on. Tyler's from the States, so he can touch on the what's going on over there.
Yeah.
What do you want to talk about today, Tyler?
Well, I think the most interesting thing that I'm looking at is the confirmation hearings for Judge Kavanaugh for the United States Supreme Court. The potential implications on that, on the cannabis market as well as the hemp market, are really hard to understate. That is also kind of combined with what's going on with Attorney General Jeff Sessions and his potential firing, who could replace him. But again, specifically for today, with the nomination of Judge Kavanaugh, what that could be with his judicial philosophy, originalism, in this sector as a whole.
Mm-hmm. And sorry, did you say Jeff Sessions has been removed?
No. The talk is that after they finish with the Kavanaugh nomination process, that would be the next.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but that's obviously also speculative.
No, absolutely, because I know a lot of the things that you and I always talk about. We're talking about cannabis is something we still don't have an answer for, and I know you're always very passionate about it. And we've spoken to you previously about this. Is how are we going to be tracking all these different cannabis companies? And I know we were both in DNAX. That's stocks that we both own. Have you looked anywhere else? Is there anything else that you're saying? You know what? I think this might be what Health Canada or the provinces are using moving forward.
I mean, it's hard to say at this moment. We expected, or at least I expected, the tracking system to quote go live today, and there was new information posted in the Canada Gazette this morning, but it didn't specifically address any of the particular questions that I have. My basic understanding at this point is that there's going to be a large federal system for which reporting will happen monthly on the 15th, but how that's handled on a provincial or territorial basis still is, open to interpretation, shall we say. But the thing that I found most interesting was the outlining of the potential consequences of not using this track, and that it could start off with a written warning, basically, and then fines, and then potential losing of one's licensing. And then also, I thought it was see that the government, in the concept of regulation, have what they call a one-to-one scenario, in which anytime they add any new regulation in regard to this, they have to remove one as well, which makes it basically net neutral, which I think is encouraging too.
No, exactly. And something I'm going to keep my eyes on, something that I think still has a lot of value, because we were just talking about, you know, these large caps. I mean, what's weed at right now? 70 actually. I don't know if we can split screen with my TV or my laptop here, I should say. What a ride that's been on. It's just been going nonstop. So, but he made a good point though. You know, if you've got, say, Canopy right now, and you go in for Canopy for $70, in order to get a double out of that, it has to go to $140. That, right. You know, is that reasonable? Like, it's, so I really want to find the places where I can go into and I can make a double and a triple still, and that's something that, you know, Karl, I know you and I look at it all the time. It's harder and harder to find.
Well, you got to look into other sectors. I mean, Tyler does that. Tyler likes mining too. What do you hold it in the mining space, Tyler?
Well, I've still got DCW. I've still got some GGI. I actually just added this today, and there's a couple others that I'm looking at. Have been in and out of on what's been going on with them. It seems to me, in my experience with the juniors, that there really are large, and sort of what Chris was saying, you have to kind of identify those based on the intensity of the pattern. And, you know, like, quite frankly, today, my impression of the dip that GGI has taken, a lot of people were expecting a huge press release today. And when that didn't happen, they, you know, lose patience and sell off. You have to be ready to take advantage of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm just going through a few right now. I mean, CCW is 57 on the bid right now. GGI, I think it was 233. I finally read on that by 2 cents. TIG we were looking at earlier. TIG is at 72 cents, so it came back a little bit. You know, I think it's just cooling off. Like, look what we've done the last week. It's been insane. Yeah.
Well, we're in September now, and this is a good month for the mining speculators, but the volume went into cannabis right away, so we'll see where that ends up.
Yeah. Which I still think that there's a lot of room for growth. You know, it's funny mentioning about the market cap of cannabis. And I thought last year when Amazon hit $1,000 a share, that was going to, you know, how long would it take to be for that to double again? It did, and it seems like there's no stopping. So we'll see. I mean, I think. Go ahead.
Oh, I was actually going to go in a different direction. You finish your thought there, Tyler.
No, like I said, I think there's definitely room for growth, and we'll see what happens. But I think, again, referencing this guest Chris and what he was talking about, the future opportunities, specifically with hemp and in the United States, and indeed in other markets in the world, like what exactly is going to happen. It's really exciting.
Absolutely. Now, Tyler, are you still holding Pivot Pharmaceuticals?
Yes.
What was the name of the gentleman, the IR gentleman? Was that?
Cam.
Cam. Well, I want to give them a little shout out right now. And I would like to have them on next week. So it's an open invitation for them to come on the show and give us a little update on what's going on with their company. Tyler, would you like to know what's going on with their company?
Yes. Yes, I would.
All right. Well, we'll definitely send this clip over to them.
Absolutely. No, I think, again, too, with derivatives and the potential for exporting those, specifically in Canada, obviously we know it's going to be a while before those markets mature, so to speak. But it is opening up all across the world, the United States as well, in the markets where it's available. And the Pivot, as we know, it's not necessarily that they're producing a thing, it's the intellectual property that they own. Right. And I think, me personally, as a speculative investor, people who own intellectual property in the creation of derivatives is what I find most interesting. And in that it doesn't require, you know, here we're doing this specific space, not bound by geography this way, that a licensed producer.
No, absolutely. Well, hey, man, it's always been a pleasure bringing you on and be able to talk about these things, because it's a great story of someone, you know, didn't invest that much, and then all of a sudden you got that first taste, and now you're all on your stocks. You're always paying attention. You're always doing diligence. That's why I like being able to bring you on the show, talk to you in our chat rooms. I love being able to talk to people who care about their stocks. So don't just buy it because of the ticker. They buy it because they put so much more into that, and they understand the potential of where it's going to go. So I always appreciate your time, my good man, and I hope we can do this again very soon.
All right.
Have a good day, guys.
Yeah, take care. Tyler is a first-class speculator. That's someone right there that he puts himself in a winning position, as we were talking earlier.
Yeah,
it's got a crazy story. We'll get into it. And actually, if you're in our Facebook group, you know, I've done a Facebook Live with Tyler before, and we'll probably do more of that, because I want him to tell his story and inspire and motivate other people.
Absolutely, and that's why we started this whole thing. That's why or you started this whole thing. I came on. I was sold the second day I entered the group, and we've turned it into a thriving community, because that's what everyone is trying to do. They're trying to learn. We're not out there trying to say, you know, join our group, you're going to make thousands of dollars. It's an absolute lie if you think you're just going to be able to come in and see our stock picks and just all of a sudden start making money.
Yeah. Well, I like how you took that little jab from Chris Perry too. Yeah. He definitely threw a little jab, but that's Chris.
You know what?
And that's fine, and you owned it. And, you know, yeah, why did you buy that? And I would ask that question to a lot of other people. You know what I mean? So there's so many plays out there. Just learn. You know, you don't have to be perfect.
No,
right?
And you won't. And that's why I wanted to elaborate into that as well, because that was a mistake on my behalf.
Yeah.
Because I did throw a dart. Everything was going up. You get that excitement, that euphoria. And I had a very large portfolio. I actually did a pretty good due diligence in most of my companies, but I didn't do enough in several. I wasn't the only one. There's a couple bad ones, and there were some amazing ones. You know, it happens.
How many stocks did you hold when you bought that? And I'm going to throw a jab at you.
Probably I know you are. 26.
26. Brandon, there is no possible way.
Portfolio.
I didn't want to, you know, I didn't want to throw like, you know, fuel on the fire while Chris was giving a little jab. But there's no way that you can do the type of due diligence needed when you're holding that many.
And it was funny because I was full-time university in my third year in my economics and business science degree. I had 5 courses at the time. I had 26 portfolio stocks. Everything was going crazy, and I started joining Follow the Money and doing a lot of time and putting. I didn't have enough time to do 26 stocks. You know, it was amazing, but it's a learning curve. You know, I'm never going to get it every single week and every single day. I'm changing things a little bit. You know, there was a lot of FOMO that was going around, fear of missing out for people who were like, what on earth did that guy just say?
Yeah.
When these cannabis stocks, you see the one day and the second day, like, oh, why didn't I get in? Okay, it's always going to continue, and I'm going to get in again. If you did that this morning, though, there's a good chance that, although some of them look like they bounce back, there's a good chance you lose money right away because you were scared of missing out. I actually let a few rockets go completely by. But I didn't lose any money because I didn't want to chase it after it's already run 50, 60, 70%.
Yeah.
It's just a choice I've made. And I'm becoming a little bit smarter with my money, and I want to get into things earlier. That's where I want my money.
Honestly, just get in early. It's less stress.
Yep. And how do you get in early?
Well, you got to do your due diligence, networking with people.
Networking.
But yeah, you did well on Pivot, though, right?
Yep. Did well on Pivot. I had a lot of really good returns. I had some really stupid ones as well. There's a great yin and a yang there, but you have to learn from those, and that's why, you know, I never went over the ones I really cared about. I put $2,000-$3,000 in, whatever it be. Some of them were $1,000. You know, it's just seeing how it would go. And you know, $1,000 is a lot to some people, and $1,000 is absolutely nothing to some people. But that's how I spread my money around, was by doing smaller amounts. But now, if I'm going to a stock, you know, I don't usually go in unless it's $3,000 or $4,000 because I want it to be something that I care about. Well, and you keep growing that way. You know, you're smarter.
Yeah, the amount is irrelevant, right? Because it's only relevant to you.
Or percentage of portfolio. I'm putting larger chunks of my portfolio into certain plays.
Yeah. Well, Chris Perry referenced darts and throwing darts, and don't do that. Just straight up, don't do that.
No. And don't get me wrong. I do not think we're done with this cannabis rush. That's a personal opinion of mine. I do believe that the mining sector is still going to rocket as well, especially if we get a few red days in cannabis. I wouldn't be surprised. Speculators are moving their money from sector to sector. But we're only just started September. I'm surprised things ran as much as they did already. Yeah. We got a lot of time. October 17th is coming up. Legalization, largest legalization event since Prohibition, the first G7, first G20 nation, first Western civilization. first country in Western civilization to legalize it. We will not be the last or either. I think that it's going to be a domino effect. So let's see what happens. Keep following the money and keep your eye on there and find a community. I kind of think ours is pretty good.
That's great.
Find a community though that you can talk to, you can bounce ideas off of.
Yeah,
that's what you're going to learn.
I think people need to look at mining right now, to be honest.
Yep, absolutely.
I'm staring at TIG right now.
Yeah, and it's going up, back down. We'll see where it's going to lay after here. But that's almost all that we have for today. For anybody who wants to catch us, FTMIG.com is our website, news releases, a bunch of different videos with CEOs. We have some feature pages for 4 amazing companies as well that you can look into them and find out more about them. We have our Discord chat rooms. Follow the Money Investor Group is our Facebook group as well. We'd love to have you as one of our community members and see what we're about. And if you hate us, you can leave. If you love us, you got a new community to invest in for a long time. So check us out. Appreciate everything. Always a pleasure. We do these random high fives. I don't know why, but we're going to do it to end the show. I hope everyone enjoyed and have a great day.